Mixed messages. Markets remain jumpy as Trump's utterances become increasingly bizarre. Will he abandon the war with Hormuz still closed, or send in the Marines? DeFi disaster. Another massive theft by the Lazarus group sees over $250 million disappear. And, as you might expect, how they did it is truly astonishing. Running low. Iranian strikes on Qatar have resulted in a critical shortage of helium.
We look at the vital role helium plays and what the consequences of a shortage will be.
And we'll have Lewis with the TA, the best of the week's tweets, dates for your diary, and much more besides. This is the Coin Bureau News, live.
GM everyone, happy Monday, happy Easter, and welcome back to another episode of the Coin Bureau Weekly News Live. Joining us today on a day when we could either have a ceasefire in the Middle East or the start of World War III. There's nothing in between.
Yeah.
My name, of course, is Nick. Guy, how you doing? How you feeling? Happy Easter, man.
Yes, happy Easter, Nick. Yep, and happy Easter to everyone watching. Yes, I'm very well, thanks. I'm very well.
I'm glad to see you recovered your voice from the helium experiment earlier.
Yes. Well, we've got to make the most of that while we still have it, because it looks like that's going to be one of the first casualties of this whole conflict. Shortage of helium. There'll be no messing around with funny voices anymore.
Yeah, no, indeed. But it is looking optimistic right now. As I mentioned at the beginning, there is talk of a potential ceasefire, although, it depends which source you're following. So that is leading to a potential slight rally in Bitcoin. So we'll be talking about that. And we'll then also be mentioning and covering the hack, the biggest DeFi hack of this year, to over $280 million. And how it happened is absolutely mind-blowing, right?
It is. It is. It's one of these things you're just like, how did they even do this? But it's a fascinating and somewhat scary tale. Yep.
And then, of course, we're taking a look at one of the supply shocks that you guys haven't noticed yet, but you could notice soon enough when it has an impact on the broader AI build out, as well as all of the electronic components that you want within your devices. And that's the helium shortage. So we'll be looking at all of those things. But guys, please do fire up those likes. What target should we set today, Guy? I know it's an optimistic. I think the 1,000 target's a bull market target. I don't think we're going to hit that.
I mean, I kind of feel 100 is maybe a little ambitious. Let's go for 100. Can we get 100? What are we going to do if we get 100?
No, you got to be slightly more optimistic than that, Guy. I mean, Bitcoin's up in price, and maybe more people are tuning in to kind of see what's happening this week. So let's target 500. We'll see if we have to adjust it down next week. So hit up the likes, guys. Don't forget to subscribe and ping the bell as well. And let's dive into, of course, the first part of the analysis, Bitcoin last week. And we'll start with Monday, where there was some optimism. Trump signaled progress in some talks, but it subsequently turned out that those talks were with himself, right?
Yeah. This is becoming a bit of a feature of this whole conflict. This, the first ever war to be fought on social media as well as on the battlefield. Trump says something, and then the Iranians come out and go and say the opposite. It's like, nope, we haven't, no discussions, no negotiations, nothing, not happening. It's totally bizarre.
The funniest analogy I've seen is that people say that Trump is speaking to a scammer on the phone. He's pretending to be the Iranians. A scammer out. But anyways, the markets, of course, faded that taco. Many people said this was a taco. It wasn't. And the markets faded that very quickly. So they rallied, and then they sold off after they realized that it was not meant to be.
Yeah.
And Powell was speaking as well, right?
Yes, poor old Powell. He's in a bit of a dilemma here. Really, kind of, it doesn't really have much of a choice. He can raise rates and tank the economy further, or not raise rates and risk inflation. It's a tough one.
Yeah, it is. And on those comments, there was more FUD that came out on Tuesday, and this was specifically to Bitcoin, as if we needed this again. the old quantum threat and fear came up again. This is because of a Google paper actually that was released that said that basically the potential for a crack in Bitcoin's encryption via quantum computing could come as soon as 2029. So they basically, the paper showed that you needed less qubits, many less than were initially thought, to actually crack Bitcoin's encryption.
Yeah, really good of them as well to release that report just after we'd made our video on the quantum threat to Bitcoin. So thanks for that, Google. Appreciate it.
There we go.
Yeah.
Then Bitcoin, of course, didn't take kindly to that. It fell to below 66K.
Yeah. And then Trump was again sort of just burbling on. He said the war could end. This was on Tuesday. Remember, said the war could end in 2 to 3 weeks.
Markets were very optimistic about that, and the stocks started to rally on the back of that news. And that continued on to Wednesday because there was this potential that the markets were rallying in anticipation of a press conference Trump was going to give, where there could be a de-escalation.
Indeed. Bitcoin got us rallied back up towards 69K as well. There was a general sort of sense that, okay, maybe he's going to say something positive, consequential, and we can all sort of think about moving on from this whole Iran business, which has already caused so much pandemonium. But it wasn't really to be.
It was not meant to be, correct. It basically, I've seen it summarized as Trump just very unenthusiastically reading through most of his old Truth Social posts. He threatened escalation, said that the conflict would continue going on. He mused on many different things. It was a bit of a raving speech, but with way less enthusiasm. But anyways, the result of that was that the markets, of course, sold off, right?
Yeah. Which takes us to Thursday. Asian markets started selling off as well. It looked like any confidence they had evaporated too. And that saw Bitcoin tumble back towards 67K.
Yep. And then took us into Friday, where US markets were closed for Easter. I love the ChatGPT seems to increasingly make me look not only older but also more homeless by every week. I try to call this image. So I said, make me an image of Nick and Guy trade. I'm trying to trade on non-farm payrolls day when the markets were closed, and that was the only instruction. But it seemed to think that I got older and more homeless from that in the subsequent week. So I don't know.
It's all downhill, I'm afraid, for you, Nick.
It's all downhill, man. All downhill. But it was, as I mentioned, the NFP still came out on an Easter Sunday, on an Easter Friday, which is interesting, and it was actually a very good number.
Yeah. It was which suggested that maybe the markets would get excited about it, but unfortunately, Bitcoin just
nothing going on there. And then that took us into the weekend, where Bitcoin remained trading sideways, although we were back into extreme fear territory.
I mean, we seem to be kind of parked in extreme fear territory. Had we actually gotten out of extreme fear at all?
They need to update these readings, guys. Like, you can't be. It's just a constant state of just numbness. It's not extreme fear. I'm not afraid anymore. I'm just, hey man, it is what it is.
Yeah. So the weekend was fairly uneventful. Bear in mind, it was the Easter weekend. I don't know what people get up to in South Africa over the Easter weekend, but back in the UK, it's usually what sort of coincides with a nice bit of spring weather and stuff. So usually people are out getting plastered, but I don't know if that's a South African tradition as well.
I think they do as well. Yeah, just plastered on different alcoholic beverages and. Also like similar Easter festivities. But of course, Trump had a very unifying Easter message for the whole world. And this is the most unhinged. I basically had to double take. I did not believe this was a real Truth Social post, a real statement from the President of the United States. Right up there with JFK's going to the moon speech, maybe with FDR's speech post Pearl Harbor. This is what a statesman-like statement,
Echoes of FDR and Churchill, and it's crazy. I sort of assumed it was a prank. I did wonder whether maybe Barron had got hold of the phone and just sort of fired that off, and it would get deleted. But no, it seems to be the real thing.
Well, I'm glad to see he's converted, mashallah. I'm glad to see he's converted, mate.
Yeah.
Praise be to. I mean, yeah. Anyways, crazy stuff. Most unhinged post ever. But that's obviously set off a lot of concerns as to whether we come into a deadline. But there was optimism today because Reuters or Axios first reported that there are discussions ongoing. So these are real, apparently, as much as Axios' leaks can be trusted. And Bitcoin seemed to rally from this 69, 70. We hit 70K as well.
Yeah, a little bit of excitement there. It seems discussions are ongoing around the ceasefire. But I mean, this is the same sort of stuff that we've been having for a while, isn't it? And of course, discussions were ongoing when the war launched, 5 weeks ago, whenever it was. So you kind of sort of think, well, okay, discussions are ongoing. Does that achieve anything at all?
But there's one party to these discussions which isn't there, or one party that's central to any sort of cessation in hostilities that's not within these discussions. And I don't know where that party, I don't know what that party thinks of this. My feeling is they don't give a shit, and they'll just keep on going. But anyways, that's some optimism there. But amid all of this, amid all of the war and the missiles and the negotiations and the pandemonium, Michael Saylor is back to bid in Bitcoin, and he bought another stack today after a week's rest from hitting the buy button. He's back and he bought his first stack today after a week away. So then that's what happened last week. What's to come? There's a lot of important dates and times to tick on your diary, guys. Firstly, today we have a Trump speech at 1 p.m. today. Then we've got a deadline later tomorrow. We've got PC and CPI, which we'll be talking about in a bit. Quickly taking a look at the charts on the weekly, it's looking quite good here. Firstly, for a few reasons. I mean, we've been tracking the weekly for the past few weeks, and we closed for last week above the 200-week moving average, exponential moving average. That's a good sign. We came very close to the 2021 cycle high, which is also where we've had a previous resistance zone, the 69 to 72K zone, which we haven't been able to break over the past few weeks, always been rejected from it. So it's key to break through it this week. But there is another sign of optimism, and that is, if you look at below the chart there, we've got what is termed a MACD bullish crossover, a moving average convergence, divergence crossover. And the last time this happened, we had a bullish crossover, was back in May last year, after which Bitcoin rallied by about 25%. So that's looking good. But yeah, but I don't want to rain on anyone's parade, because it appears as if, I don't know, we forgot about this bad boy, but there we go. A CME gap is back. And look, it's slightly down below towards 67K. I mean, take it with a pinch of salt. If there is a ceasefire, Bitcoin will rip. That's fact. But so I don't know if the gap will be strong enough to draw it down in that environment, but it's worth noting.
Well, all I'll say, Nick, is it's good to have a CME gap back. It feels like a long time since we had a CME gap. I've missed them, as I'm sure you have too.
I haven't been tracking them as regularly, to be honest. Been a bit distracted with a few other things going on around us, but I'm glad to see it's back. It's back. It's a long lost friend. Anyways, guys, if you want to trade this crazy market pandemonium, couldn't think of a better place to do that than on 2bit, our brand partner. Now, 2bit is a top-tier international exchange with a solid interface, a deep liquidity, and competitive fees. And onboarding is super, super simple. All you need is an email address. You go in, you sign up, create an email address, go and trade, play around with the demo account initially first to see how it works. And then if you want to trade and you want to deposit funds to trade, you can get up to 90K in trading rewards, as well as an immediate VIP level 1 upgrade, which gets you 50% off trading fees for life. And that's just as simple as email address, sign up, scan the QR code, link down below as well, create an account, and avail yourself of those benefits and bonuses over on 2bit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, let's have a look at the sentiment in the chat. Kian very kindly wishing everyone a happy Easter. Yes, a happy Easter if you celebrate. If not, like I said in the reminder, just a happy Monday. Someone asking if I'm still in the bunker. Yes, I'm still in my very very stylish, very bespoke bunker with my as many people.
Bunker. Very nice.
It is a nice bunker, isn't it? As many people pointed out, with my extremely boring T-shirt. After the fun and games of last week's shirt, we're back to normal service. Vinny is saying, Guy looks like he's thirsty for a beer after a tough year. It's only the end of Q1. What am I going to look like in December?
Jeez,
it's worrying to think about. I thought Brett, regular viewer Brett, made a good point. Iran is proving to be more reliable in their statements than Trump, likely able to fund their war with all the Bitcoin mining they've been secretly doing with cheap nuclear energy for years and years. Interesting. Yeah,
that is true. They are more reliable.
Sure Iran's got the nuclear energy they would like, but
don't think they are. But they are more reliable. Let's be honest in terms of what their statements and everything. But he's the biggest threat to everyone's portfolio, mate. That is true.
Absolutely.
Anyways,
he was supposed to be interested.
So if you had a bad week, if you think you had a bad week last week, it can't be anywhere as bad as that of the team over at Drift. Now, first of all, what is Drift? Drift protocol is a Solana perp DEX that launched about 2 to 3 years ago, termed as like a Solana's hyperliquid. And we covered this extensively on FUD and FOMO stream on Friday, which we'll link to below, and you guys can watch that as well. But let's give you a quick TLDR before we get into the meat and potatoes of what exactly happened with this hack, right?
Yeah. So largest Solana DeFi hack since the wormhole exploit a couple of years ago, I think that was. $285 million in various tokens were lost on the 1st of April. And this was via an attack that the attackers managed to grant themselves unauthorized admin access. And it was basically done through social engineering, right?
Yeah, exactly. Social engineering. And they executed the attack on April 1st, on April Fool's Day, which is wild. Amazingly good sense of humor the DPRK has. And how did it happen? So basically happened when they used these, quote, durable nonces, which are a feature to bypass Drift's multi-sig in under a minute. So essentially they were able to use these durable nonces, which are pre-signed transactions with no expiry, and then they were able to trick the Drift's 5-member security council into approving the admin transfers. And crucially, the multi-sig setup on Drift's the admin setup was 2 or 5. So you didn't even need a majority; you only needed 2 of the 5 signers.
Yeah. Now look, that I think is worth pointing out, because although this was an extremely sophisticated hack, which we'll dig into a little bit more in a moment or so. Although this was extremely sophisticated, there was no time lock on the multi-sig from what I'm aware, and 2 of 5 is just not strong enough level of security. So although you can have some sympathy with the team, because they were the victims of a really sophisticated attack, things like that make it easier.
Yeah, no, of course. And so who done it? Well, Elliptic flagged DPRK, which is the North Korean hacking group, Lazarus. They were likely the culprits here. And they identified cross-chain laundering patterns and Solana-specific tracing challenges that align with prior DPRK state-sponsored operations. Yeah.
So this had a lot of DPRK, a lot of Lazarus Group fingerprints all over it. But what's really, really shocking, and Drift Protocol clarified this more recently, was just exactly how they got access in the first place. As you can see, Drift posted about it. But basically, this was a 6-month coordinated infiltration. It involved, in-person meetings and trust building with Drift contributors. So these attackers actually posed as these weren't North Korean nationals, obviously, because I think anyone in crypto knows that if they were approached by someone from North Korea, that would set all manner of alarm bells ringing. But it appears that they were approached by people who posed as representatives of a legit trading firm, a legit quant trading firm, at a crypto event, at an IRL crypto event.
Yeah, it's true. Just one point you made there, Guy. But how would they know if they're North? I'm surely they're not going to go and identify themselves. Hi, I'm Mike. I'm from North Korea.
That is true.
They're going to be like, I'm South Korean actually, which is, and then I think I don't know, as a Westerner, would be able to tell the difference to be in terms of like language or whatnot. But anyways, the exploit, like you mentioned, was a 6-month coordinated infiltration, and it's happened at an event, a crypto event, literally started at a crypto event. And what's crazy is not only do they pose as a legitimate trading firm, but they built this credibility by deeply integrating with the ecosystem, and even deposited $1 million. So they were of the opinion that in order to build this trust, they needed to deposit money to do it. And it's crazy.
Yeah. And you do have to have sympathy for the Drift team, in terms of what happened there, because for a long time now, I mean, one of the sort of memes of the last year or so has been this idea of North Korean agents or North Korean hackers getting jobs with crypto companies after doing Zoom interviews and what have you. And it's obviously very easy to fake who you are online. So, from what I'd been sort of monitoring, the sort of Telegram groups that I'm on, where a lot of crypto industry people talk to each other, there was a real sort of sense. It's like, well, you can't be if you work for a crypto protocol, you can't be hiring people that you at least haven't, that you haven't met in real life. You need to make sure that these people are who they say they are. So I imagine that just the fact that they met these people IRL, and quite apart from then, these guys were doing GitHub commits. They were fully involved in the ecosystem, and as you say, Nick, they actually deposited some money. This was really, really sophisticated. So I imagine that the Drift team just did not see this coming.
Yeah, no, and I think that literally to think about it, the fact that this attack started, I mean, it must have been well planned to have thought about it, but it literally could have started over from some free drinks at a networking event around, I don't know what crypto event it was. I don't know why they didn't name and shame, because I'd prefer to avoid crypto events where there's DPRK state actors hanging around trying to siphon crypto from us. But all the more, I know you basically mortified, Guy, because I know you love crypto events, especially.
Oh, I do. I love nothing better
all
than
those big parties. And,
I guess it would have been quite unfair to name the event in question, because that would have been catastrophic for that event's sort of standing and image, wouldn't it? Because if people went, oh God, well, at that event last year, that's where the Drift protocol.
You're implying that crypto events have a positive image in the first place.
I mean, I've long said that there are far too many crypto events for an industry that that is still relatively small in the grand scheme of things. We've got far too many events going on, but then we're in the bear market now, so there are obviously going to be fewer of those. But it is crazy, because it does sort of throw up the idea. It's like, well, how do you, if you're a crypto protocol and you're going to work with people, either hire people to work directly on the protocol, or work with them as a third party, like a trading firm or a dev shop or whatever it is. How are you going to be able to trust that these people are legit? Because is there really going to be any way of knowing whether or not they've been paid off by the North Koreans?
And also, given how long that it must have taken to build that trust, how do you know anyone really in crypto? You may have known someone for 1-2 years. I mean, how long do you think the North Korean hackers are likely to want to build that relationship before they're willing to pull the trigger, if it's big enough of an exploit? So it's a scary prospect. But you've done a video on this, right? And it's going out today, right? On the...
Yep. So, this is, we break it down. There are some of the, if you want to know some of the more technical aspects of it as well. We deal with some of those in the video too. So if you want the full story on that, do give that a watch. But yeah, absolutely crazy. And I'm afraid, this won't be the last DeFi hack of this year. The way things are going, this probably won't even be the biggest DeFi hack of this year.
No, right.
So we sort of wait with bated breath to see what the next one's going to be. But yeah, I mean, it does present a real problem for the industry, I think, because if this stuff keeps happening, it's terrible for crypto's image. And if you've been working on a protocol like Drift or any others of these that have been exploited, what's the incentive if you're just going to become a target? So it's something, I don't know how this is fixed, but it needs to be.
Yeah, and another thing that needs to be fixed is the Strait of Hormuz, because everyone's been focused on the impact it's having on the oil market, maybe also on the fertilizer market. But what's also really important is what's happening with the helium supply. And this is important because helium, it's an important byproduct of LNG, liquefied natural gas. It's a byproduct of the extraction of liquefied natural gas. And because a lot of Asian supply for helium and LNG comes from the Middle East, specifically Qatar, the closure of the strait has been a massive logistical issue for that entire region.
Well, and it's not just the closure of the strait, but also Qatar's manufacturing capability has been damaged. They had to declare, Qatar Energy had to declare force majeure, and I think it was quite early on because the Iranian drones hit the Ras Laffan facility, which I think is where all this LNG is sort of processed. It's not easy to repair.
It's not. And these repairs, the timeline for the repairs could take years. And that cuts the annual helium exports by about 14%. Now, firms that are in the firing line for this is big ones in South Korea are Samsung and SK Hynix. They say they face a supply crunch. As South Korea flags helium among 14 critical materials. And they imported 64.7% of their helium from Qatar in 2025, and Samsung and SK Hynix are the most directly exposed chip makers globally.
Yeah. Now, South Korea has quite sensibly got some stockpiles of helium. They're not completely empty-handed at the moment. But apparently, according to Reuters, those stocks will last until June at I guess what are sort of current production rates.
Yeah, I mean, so we'll have to see then. But it also threatens the AI chip build out in the US, as this last week also we had Airgas, which is a US industrial gas supplier, which also declared force majeure, telling customers it will only meet up to 50% of its normal monthly helium demand. And it's also adding a surcharge of $13.50 per 100 cubic feet.
Wow. And of course, as you can imagine, the ripples of this are spreading well out beyond these companies and countries that we've talked about. Companies and governments sort of everywhere are trying to sort of contain this fallout as much as they can. Samsung, interestingly, has rolled out an in-house helium reuse system, which you sort of think, well, that's the sort of thing, it sounds like you should have had that beforehand, but I guess that might help. Global Foundry said mitigation plans are in place and it's sort of in contact with suppliers. Obviously, there are other sources of helium other than Qatar, but if you remove 30% from the supply, that is going to have a devastating effect, no matter what you do.
Yeah, so I guess the main questions here are, is it going to derail the AI build out? Because firstly, you can't easily scale without the chips for the GPUs. And helium is a non-substitutable for the advanced product, for the advanced node fabrication for the plant, for the companies like the likes of TSMC, for example.
Yeah, there is... and you need... helium has other uses as well. I think. But I mean, I guess this just underlines, doesn't it? It's like it's so easy to forget when everything is functioning normally, just how reliant the whole economy is, and really by extension, the whole world and all of us. This is something that eventually affects everyone's lives in some way or another. But we saw this. We put out a video on just yesterday on the main channel with our new presenter DC, where we were talking about naphtha, which is this chemical feedstock that is vital in kind of plastics manufacturing as well. And you just realize it's like these chemicals. It's not just oil. It's not just gas. There are all these vital raw materials that if you remove, and you don't have to remove the whole supply from the chain, you only need to cut off a bit of it, and it causes absolute, the downstream effects of this are just pandemonium. And I guess this is the price that you pay for this sort of huge interconnected global economy that we have, that functions so well and so efficiently under quote unquote normal conditions. But then you throw a spanner in the works in the form of a war, or choking off a particular bottleneck, and all of a sudden the wheels all start to come off.
Yeah, a spanner in the works or a mine in the strait. But it's also quite. I don't think we've learned anything from COVID, because I think one thing that was exposed then was the whole just-in-time manufacturing, where very limited stockpiles were kept because you wanted to keep your inventory low to keep profit margins high, and you would then rely on these very tight production schedules with very limited raw materials. And this has been exposed again. It's crazy to think that they're now looking at I heard a story last week that the UK has its last shipment of jet fuel going to the UK right now. On average, they have about at least 5 shipments on any given time on the way to the UK. Now they've got their last shipment. So if you guys haven't booked your summer holidays, your JetBlue holiday, make sure to do it quickly, because that jet fuel is running low. So yeah, but if you guys are looking to trade the AI. Potential AI implications, the implications for the AI sector, given this helium shortage, or indeed any other stocks or commodities, we couldn't think of a better place to do it than on BitGet. So this is our second brand partner here, and they list tokenized stocks for these AI names we've talked about, as well as the chip makers and other TradFi assets, gold, oil, and other commodities. And you can use it right now. You can just swap your Bitcoin for tokenized gold and these other assets, and you can trade directly with USDT with up to 500 times leverage and the deepest liquidity and the lowest slippage. So you guys can also get up to 50K in deposit bonuses here as well. All you got to do, scan the QR code on the screen or hit the link down in the description. Go and create an account at BitGet if you don't have one already, and start trading those TradFi assets, guys.
Absolutely. And you can trade crypto assets as well, but
by the way,
why would you want to do a thing like that?
But no, yes, you can still trade altcoins there, guys. I'm sorry, I should have mentioned. Sorry, my head's just in TradFi assets these days.
Yeah. This is TradFi Bureau now. Okay. Speaking of asset prices and where they might be going, that I think is a perfect segue into this week's TA, which is brought to us again by Lewis. So, Lewis, take it away.
Charts and trends, he'll show the way. Lewis brings the TA today.
Hey guys, what's going on? So the first thing that I want to point out on this TA section is not actually Bitcoin, but it's actually the S&P 500. So what I want to point out, of course, you're talking to me, so I'm bearish. It's just this is the reason why I'm super cautious, okay? If you look back at, October of 2023, the S&P 500 had its bottom around $4,122. And it basically just made a higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, and just kept on making higher lows and higher highs all the way up until February of 2025, which is pretty crazy for such a nice run. And then you could see that it created its first lower low on the weekly time frame in March of 2025. And, after that happened, it ended up dropping quite substantially more. after it made that low, and it dropped another 16.26% after making that low, which broke that uptrend, right? And the reason why I'm pointing that out is because, well, since that low in 2025 on the S&P 500, it's essentially just made higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, consistently all the way up until just about 2 weeks ago. And it created the first lower low market structure break on the weekly time frame, and now it is, moving back up to retest the underside of the market structure break, and I think it'll probably move up a little bit higher. But just the fact that we got this market structure break on the weekly time frame on the S&P 500, and the last time that we had that, the S&P 500 and stock market ended up dipping very significantly. That makes me very worried. Now let's go to Bitcoin. So looking at Bitcoin, you could see that it's still within this range. I know it's crazy. Everyone always seems to go so crazy on such little moves. I know people are, screaming, Bitcoin's up, Bitcoin's up. I mean, it's up single digits. It's not really that, imperative right now. And it's still in that no man's land that it was last week during the TA section. It's still within or underneath the big resistance level that it's hit, 100 times, maybe not exactly 100, but, multiple times. And it's underneath that gigantic trend line that's basically just been the resistance ever since October of 2025, ever since the top, really. So it still has a lot of resistance ahead of it. The S&P broke that market structure. So I'm not, saying that the bottom is. I'm sticking with my analysis that I had last week. I'm just going to wait. I'm going to wait until the big support level is hit, or I'm going to wait until the big resistance level is hit. I'm going to wait and just take a trade there, because what I want to do is I want to look for high probability trade setups. And right now it's still in no man's land, and I don't know whether it's going to go up. I don't know whether it's going to go down from here. But that's not the area that you want to be looking at unless you're doing some really, really short, low time frame trades. Then yeah, sure, you could do it. And if you're, actively trading in the market, then this could have been a really nice 5% move that you would have made. But I don't know. I just feel like we're in crypto, and most people in crypto want to make at least double digits, right? Even though most people really want triple digits who are in crypto. But that's just my take, and I like to do that because it's a lot less stressful. Just wait for the big areas instead of trying to catch every little move, right? However, there have been a lot of sweeps on different cryptocurrencies, on different coins. I did see one. Let me go to that real quick. This one right here is Useless, which was a really, really big cryptocurrency this cycle. It had massive gains. And I do like the fact that if you zoom in, just a few days ago, it had this really, really long wick bullish candle. And that happened to also be a sweep of the lows, of the previous lows back in February. So that is a bullish structure. That is something that I do look for, technically speaking. And I put a trade on, so I like it, but I have a stop loss, and I'm not risking too much, just because overall I'm still not super bullish. But you can make money in this market, whether you're bullish or bearish, whether the market is going up or down, if you use proper technical analysis, and of course if you have your stop losses in place and use even fundamental analysis too works. But the important thing is that you have a system and you know what you're doing, and you're not risking too much on any trade unless you have a really, really solid, thought process and thesis behind it, and everything makes sense, right? And so, yeah, that's pretty much what I'm doing. I'm waiting for the most part for Bitcoin, and I'm waiting for a few things like the S&P to move up a little bit more, and then I'm going to try to short it. But there are some things that do look like this, which I will take a few longs on. And so it's really just about finding those assets that meet your criteria and fall within the system that you've created if you're a trader. And so you know exactly how much you're going to lose if you lose, and how much you're going to win if you're going to win, and, being very professional about it. And so with that, I'll send it back to you guys.
Wow. Okay. So what I took from that is we're going to short the S&P, short Bitcoin, and long a coin called Useless.
Right.
Hey man, the charts say so. The charts say so. I'm not going to fade Lewis's analysis there. Glad to see he's also back on camera as well.
Yes, we've missed Lewis's face. It's good to see him again. Okay, should we have a look at some tweets of the week?
Let's roll.
Okay, I like this. I see. I think Dragonfly Partner is always good. Has one of the best outlooks on crypto in general. And I thought this was really bullish. After a few weeks in San Francisco, one thing stands out: AI people are more bullish on crypto than crypto people are on themselves. And yeah, goes on to say, you know, that basically the integration of crypto and AI is something that, you know, that is happening. And the AI guys see this, and maybe as an industry, we need to rediscover our self-confidence again.
Yeah, no, it's true. I think that we're so jaded. We are so jaded. I've been seeing so many examples of this. Other tweets is like, there's nobody who hates the crypto space more than people in crypto, which is crazy. I think people just in crypto are just too jaded and just have been sitting there for so long, you know.
Oh, what a bunch we are. Okay, next up we have this one from Aggregate News. Tether fires top gold traders months after hiring them from HSBC. I remember this. What was it, about 3 of the top gold traders from HSBC? Man,
imagine, bro, you think you got your dream job in crypto. Shows you, man, anyone can make money in a bull market. You can be a top gold trader going into Tether, making them big bank, and then, geez, when markets turn, not too happy for you. You know, your job security kind of like turns as well.
Yeah, the whole gold thing's been really interesting, isn't it? Because I think a lot of people got burned on that. You know, the sense was that gold would just keep going up as the world sort of spiraled further and further into chaos. But you know, there's a valuable lesson in all this. But I still think the long-term case for gold is strong. But yeah, it's not been an easy couple of months to be a gold trader, that's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Next tweet.
Okay. I was sniffing gasoline to get high, but these days we switched to cocaine to save money.
Hey man, there's no closure down in the Caribbean and the Caribbean Sea. I think Trump is no longer focused on those narco runners. He's the biggest supply shock now is happening with Hormuz. That's true. Yeah.
Okay. Well, all they need to do is figure out how to convert cars to run on it, and we'll be fine.
For sure.
Yeah. And we also have this one. Oh, so this is in reply. What's happening here?
So Trump, this is the Trump tweet or post we talked about earlier, which is the one where he basically said that they've got to open the Strait, or you'll be living in hell. And the Iranian embassy in Zimbabwe's Twitter account replied with, quote, "We've lost the keys." I find it absolutely hilarious that all of the Iranian embassies around the world have kind of like teamed up on Twitter to kind of make these humorous memes and trolling of Trump. I mean, last week or 2 weeks ago, we had the Iranian embassy in South Africa trolling the joint control of the Straits. We've had the Iranian embassy in Iran do the same. The Iranian embassy in Thailand do the same. Iranian embassy in Bulgaria. So the embassy staff are having a good time. Let's put it that way.
Maybe this is how they're going to choose the next supreme leader. I mean, I know they've got another Ayatollah Khamenei in there, but I gather he hasn't been seen or heard from since I think he was injured in the airstrike that killed his father. So maybe all of this is a sort of extended audition process for who gets to be the next supreme leader. When this is all over, they'll reconvene and be like, well, certainly the embassy in Zimbabwe brought some excellent trolling. So the ambassador there is to succeed.
They're going to be promoted, exactly. Yeah, the meme competitions. So moving on, some dates to the diary this week. Like I mentioned, today's a big day. Trump's got a press conference at 1 p.m. Let's see what he says. Will it be a taco? Will it be escalation? Tuesday, tomorrow's another deadline that was supposed to be today, but it's been moved back by 24 hours or so. And this is the 8 p.m. deadline that Trump mentioned for Tuesday, and deal otherwise, quote, bombing to hell. And, you know, like you said, all praise to Allah. And then amongst all of this, yes, we've still got economic data releases. We've got the PCE. We've got 2 inflation numbers, actually. We've got the PCE numbers coming out on Thursday. The headline numbers of 2.8% expected versus 2.8% previous. And then the core is 3% expected versus 3.1% previous.
Yeah. And then Friday, we have the CPI, which is 3.3% expected versus 2.4% previous.
And the core numbers are 2.7 versus 2.5 previous. So those are the numbers and the dates to keep an eye on, guys. And if you want all of these headlines, by the way, before the week starts, we do a good breakdown over on the Coin Bureau Telegram channel. We'll share a QR code on the screen that you can go and sign up right now, or we'll have a link down in the description. But it's basically, do we have a QR code? No, we don't. Anyways, the point of the matter is you can sign up to that with the link down below, or just go and search for it at Coin Bureau, the Telegram, and get these updates, not only what's coming during the week, but also the date of the moment these things break.
It's a great sort of general news feed as well as a crypto feed as well. Those guys are doing a fantastic job. Okay, let's just have a look at a couple of comments before we leave. Both Helium and Nitrogen are found together on the Navajo Reservation, which I live adjacent to. So, Desert Squid Hunter, can you tokenize yourself, and can we buy shares in that? This is if anyone is sitting on a big deposit of helium, please do let us know. We would like to talk.
Yeah.
I think this is a good note to leave it on. Keep calm and buy Bitcoin. Yeah, I've heard worse advice.
Yeah, and that's what Saylor has done today as well. So if it's good enough for him, we should take a page out of his book. Don't care, just buy Bitcoin.
Absolutely. All right, that is it for us this week, folks. So thanks for tuning in. We will be back same place, same time next week. And of course, keep a lookout for all those other videos coming your way, including, of course, that aforementioned breakdown of everything that happened with Drift Protocol. And do keep a lookout as well for more videos from our new presenter, DC. He got an excellent reception for that naphtha video that he did that came out yesterday. You'll be seeing a lot more of him, so please do tune in and show him some love. He's a very nice chap, and we'd love you all to get to know him.
Yep, check it out, guys. Cheers.
Thanks, everyone. See you soon.
Thanks for everything you do, guys. I know it's not easy doing these pods when the market's this dead, but appreciate it. Guys sure have too much bit rate for the stream. Nick, could you please let Guy to talk more today? I'm trying to fall asleep. Diddy wants to fight for oil too. Got the one true solution to insomnia. Diddy wants to fight for oil too. Got the one true solution to insomnia.
Wow, Guy, where you at now?
So they've got this new theme park that's opening here in Dubai. It's just opened, very new, as you can see, very nice. So the wife and I thought we'd go and check it out. See what it's
amazing. Jurassic Park. Is it kid friendly?
Apparently so. Yeah, apparently so. Apparently they've got